Hello and welcome to episode 39 of I'm Fine, the chat between myself, Damo, and someone who's more pumped than an oil field right now. Mark?
I am.
Aren't you?
Pumped and aching.
Yeah.
Topless for 2021.
Not now.
Not now. God, no.
It's a chat around the subjects of health, wealth, well-being, fitness, sport and productivity. All sorts of things to help our lives.
Yeah. Although hardly any sport anymore.
No, I keep putting that in. We need to talk more sport, don't we?
Yeah. Or some sport.
Yeah.
Mm.
We like it, don't we? We
Yeah.
never talk about it. How weird's that? We're all work in progress, and this podcast is no exception. In short, it's a poke at our perfectly imperfect lives, and if we can make just one person feel like they're not alone in all this madness, then our work here is done. If you haven't already subscribed to us, then please do, as you'll get a reminder when our pods are published. And if you have a spare moment, then please do leave us a 5-star rating and or review on Apple Podcasts. Tell us what you want more or less of on our Instagram survey, as I've put up. It's only 3 questions.
Has it been covered later?
No, it's been covered now.
Okay.
Obviously. Just check the highlights on our Insta profile and give us some feedback. No, we do have some feedback on Facebook. No.
Oh, on Facebook. Okay.
That I sent you. I'm going to leave that to the end.
Okay. You had a glint in
we
your
made
eye.
it, we made a new friend, didn't we?
Oh,
Facebook.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
coming up in warm up and stretch, got some catching up to do, some bookmarks, work-life ballet. We're going to start talking about the Common Sense Committee.
Yeah.
In Braid Food, we were going to talk about the Vegas nerve, but we're not now. We're going to move that on a little bit. We might touch on it a tiny bit, but then we'll go on to talk about
Yeah, I think the
brimming,
thing, the Vegas nerve, I think there's almost too much to... I'm never going to, be in neuroscience overnight, but I think just some of the things I'm reading are leading to other things, and I'd rather give it...
Rather than it being
a rush job.
like a shotgun.
Yeah.
You want a kind of sniper's
Sawn
rifle.
off shotgun, perhaps.
That goes further, doesn't it? Doesn't that spray? Wasn't the idea of a sawn-off shotgun not just to get it in your coat? Doesn't it cause more damage because there's I don't know.
I'm not sure. Someone today showed me a clip from, I think it was the Krays film, I think. I don't think it was them in real life being filmed.
I don't think they did a fly-on-the-wall documentary, did they?
It made me think, when I worked in Dartmoor Prison was actually built in Napoleonic times. They always say that as if that, surely we would go like...
Does that make it
more
brutal?
Well, that was it. It was always described, and I'm thinking, we don't describe much of English or British history in terms of French.
Yeah. Was that just saying how old it was, or how?
Yeah, but I don't know what that.
What's the relevance? Yeah, what it's relevant. It hasn't changed. If it hasn't changed since Napoleon's time, then it's probably.
Oh, a lot of it hasn't.
I don't know. Yeah, I imagine it to be.
Yeah.
The pits, but
it's owned by the Duchy of Cornwall, so Prince Charles in effect.
Oh, okay. And
not recently, when I worked there, Prince Charles basically upped the rent, which I always thought was tricky because there isn't going to be a waiting list of people who want to run a Napoleonic prison in the middle of a barren moor. But he put it up by quite a bit, so the prison service decided to give notice on the rent of it,
right?
Which is
look for new digs.
Yeah, just hope everyone behaves. You got 10 years to turn your life around.
Yeah. Let's clear this place out.
So it was a 10-year notice period, which is like...
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Which is a hell of a contract to get up with your tenants.
Yeah.
But one of the things...
Is that still in play now?
Yeah. They're in the middle of this 10 years.
Wow.
I was working there probably about 5 or 6... I mean, maybe something's changed and it's been extended or changed. But at the time this was happening.
What's he going to turn that into? Some kind of theme park?
No, exactly. There is, I think
like
it's in Sweden.
Alcatraz,
there's a prison you can actually stay in now. It's been converted. It's like sort of a boutique type hotel,
Is it nice up there? I mean, is it?
Oh, it's very picturesque. It's like right at the top of a sort of,
yeah.
You get snowed in there. It's a foreboding type of place. Anyways, don't want to go off on a tangent.
Too late.
I mentioned it because the Krays, I said, when I used to work down there, I said, tell me some stories. Excite me about some of your...
Watch all the murderers. Tell me a story.
Bearing in mind that...
Go on for your mark.
Yeah.
Might not like the ending.
My project had 6 murderers on it, so it wasn't as if I was short of...
I'm not laughing at murder.
Gruesome.
I'm just laughing at the absurdity of my comments.
I'll tell you why I was. We were selling the mushrooms in Dartmoor Prison Museum, which is a really interesting museum. And it's very interesting to have a museum just outside a prison.
What's in the museum?
The history of the museum. The museum gives the history of the prison, but it also has things made by prisoners as in the gift shop. So you could buy painted pebbles or snow globes or...
What kind of knives made out of toothbrushes? Shanks. Homemade shanks.
Pillow stuffed with human hair. They're missing a trick, actually.
They are, aren't they?
Key rings with teeth.
Yeah, tea towels made of human skin, aren't they? I don't know how it works.
Oh, the Hatchet sells those.
Yeah. Door coverings.
I said to them, "Oh, did the Kray twins ever come here? Because they used to have a lot of people from London go to Dartmoor." And this guy went, "No." He said, "But we did have one of their drivers for one of their jobs, I think, on an armed robbery."
Right.
And he went, "Interesting story." And he's almost like in brackets, he was saying, "In case you ever do a podcast." And I completely forgotten about this interesting story until the guy showed me the pictures of the Kray twins. So what happened was, back in the day, this must have been 50s, I guess, the Kray twins came down to visit their mate and were allowed to take him for a cream tea.
What, take him out of the prison?
Yeah. To Princetown.
Bring him back by 3, were you lads?
Yeah.
What are those?
Well, no, I think it was tea at 3, bring him back by 4.
I beg your pardon. Sorry, I've...
In those days, there was protocols.
Is this Devon or Cornwall?
Devon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you put the cream on first, boys. Let's have some standards.
So Princetown is the village or the small town surrounding the prison.
Okay.
And it's almost totally dependent on the prison. So a lot of prison officers live there. Anyway, they took him to a local tea shop in Princetown.
Amazing.
And then brought him back 90 minutes later and dropped him off at the gate.
Lovely.
A couple of weeks later, they went, "Oh, we'd like to take him out for tea again." And of course, it's like, it all went well first time, boys. That's fine.
You won't see him again.
They were a bit late coming back.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, he was found in the Thames.
Oh, God.
And you sort of go to the prison. They're the most notorious East End gangsters this country has produced.
They're the reason that he's in there in the first place,
Yeah,
right?
is he was a driver for them, obviously knew a little bit too much. And now he's with the Fishers.
Maybe he didn't pay for the cream tea. I mean, you
Maybe
don't know.
put the jam and the cream in the wrong order. You what?
Embarrassing. Yeah.
You slag.
You dirty.
Bob Hoskins in the background.
Oh.
So anyway.
Well, they are men. Well, I guess they were men of honour, weren't they? And their word, they definitely put the cream on.
I'm going to kill you. You're dead. Yeah. Yeah, honour's a bit.
It's the days, but you can't do that now.
No.
Take someone out for cream tea.
No.
So how are you? You came in here bouncing off the walls. I had to kind of pull you down a bit.
Yeah.
And I know you don't like me commenting on your clothing so much, but
That I'm wearing
you're
some.
dressed to impress today, aren't you? I almost went, you going for an interview? You did trousers on?
It's trousers. It's hardly a suit, is it?
No,
it's not
but
Ted Baker.
it just looks so different. Honestly, it's just so
I know,
different.
it
You just
blows you,
used-
doesn't
yeah,
it?
it does, yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been out. It was a bit
But it's
sleety.
cold, but yeah, it is cold.
No, I just covered up a bit more. So. But yeah,
You
it is
all right?
funny. It is funny wearing different clothes. I think it changes your mood or your perception or other people's.
Yeah.
Also, apology. I know this isn't apologies, but it's
Don't
to
do
do
them
with the
anymore, do
garage.
we?
No, the anonymous client who I mentioned looked round with disgust at my garage. He wishes to
Oh, yeah.
make the point that he wasn't looking in disgust.
Oh, is he listened and fed back?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That hasn't been out long. We only put it out yesterday.
He's top of the tree. I mean, he's up there with Wayne.
Right. Is he listened to?
Yeah.
I think I published it at about 2:00
In the morning.
New Year's Day.
Okay, yeah.
We had like 16 views by the time I'd woken up.
Yeah.
It's like, who's up? What are they doing?
I guess people are up, aren't they?
It's
on New Year's
lovely that
Day?
people are, it's a real glow. But
Especially because you couldn't see the fireworks because of the fog. That was a bit of a...
oh, I don't know. I just heard them, but
Yeah.
we're just trying to look after our cats who are cowering under
Yeah.
things. Would you?
Yeah.
Have a good New
No,
Year?
I'm okay. As I say, I've been doing some pretty demonic workout sessions in the
Yeah.
gym. I'm on a bit of a roll at the moment. I'm bulking and it's going really well and I'm enjoying it and great to step on the scales and see them gone up another pound or another pound and a half. So yeah, I'm in a really good place with that.
Good.
It's exciting, I think. I think I can get probably the fittest and biggest I've ever been. So and then I thought maybe I could do competitive bodybuilding for 60 plus. But my legs are like twiglets, aren't they, really? It's like
What, brown sticky?
Yeah.
little Marmite tinge.
With my legs, you either love them or hate them. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I might get a few points for upper body, and then they go seriously. You're having a laugh. You can't wear long trousers in a bodybuilding competition.
Yeah, that's it. They're running jeans. Do you have to put the gravy browning on as well, don't you, when you're bodybuilding?
Yeah.
That's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Is it like self? Is it actually gravy? Don't they used to do gravy
They do
browning?
actually. Well,
Gravy
it is
browning.
a paint. Yeah,
Sorry,
it is a paint as such. I mean, obviously now with tanning.
What, creosote?
Yeah. That's what
It looks
says
like it stinks. I don't know whether it looks disgusting.
Yeah. Well, the whole preparation for bodybuilding is quite a strange situation because what you're going through with your body in terms of like, losing water out of your system to make the muscles more defined.
What's that called? Is that shredding, or is that not shredding when you're losing the water?
Yeah. Well, shredding's just the bulking
like
is what I'm...
MMA fighters do it as well to get the weight. People to get the weight
Yes.
down as well.
Yeah.
I mean, just literally sit in a hot bathroom and just sweat it out. It's really dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, jockeys do it. Jockeys do it to a ridiculous degree. I know when I had a racehorse that we had a guy, Willie Carson, who was a really famous jockey. He was the only famous jockey we had, and he rode my horse, and he was literally...
Your horse? Is your white
No,
steed?
I had a racehorse.
Did you?
A bit of it.
Which bit?
The slow bit. Yeah, the bit that never crossed the line. Yeah. Well, I shared it with a couple of other people.
I didn't know
12,
that.
yeah.
Oh, Willie Carson raced
Yeah,
it.
and his last race, we were over.
Oh, in his last race?
No. In my horse's last race.
Oh, okay, right. Oh,
not ever. No. The last.
Sorry, I had to put it down.
I bought the horse without ever seeing it. I just did it on breeding.
It doesn't surprise me.
And
it's how you buy your cars, isn't it? That'll do.
I want a blue one. Yeah, what horse would you like? A white Charger.
Is it breathing? Let's go.
I didn't name it, and you're not going to be surprised that this is irony.
Probably called it horse. Am I right?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what was very funny once, and this is a true story. There was two guys that bought a greyhound and raced it in Wimbledon. This was back in the 80s, and I sort of knew them through someone who knew them. When they lodged the greyhound, they lodged it as its name.
Lodged
Its name, registered its name.
Okay, right.
When it was a puppy, they registered, and they did it in this way. It was their surnames. So one of them was John Novak, so Novak.
Yeah.
And the other one was, I don't know, Roger Goode, Goode.
Yeah.
But if you say Novak and Goode quick,
Novak and Goode.
and I think, and this is when it becomes urban myth, is I think it was last on its first race, and then finally Novak and Goode. So anyway, so my horse, which wasn't named by me,
right?
This is the irony. It was called Play to Win, and for someone who's over competitive, that was bang on, wasn't it?
So how did it get on?
It won one.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, to be honest, to get a win out of a racehorse, it came second once. And after the end of its first season, it was the only time I'd seen it run. I looked at it. It was a Shetland pony. It was
tiny, was it?
Oh,
was it a Shetland pony?
Yeah, only one Gymkhana's. We got 20 quid in a rosette.
Just putting kids on them. And Willie Carson just got through as an 8-year-old.
Well, that's the point when he had to lose weight in the sauna. He had to get down to 4 stone 3. But so
where did it win? What race course?
Well, we'll leave that for another day because the race it won. No, the race it lost is a real story. The race that won is another story. So we'll do it for another day.
All right.
But when I saw it and saw how tiny it was, the trainer went, "Oh, I'd like to put this over jumps," and I'm thinking, like literally without
little ones,
without a team of.
What? Not show jumping, just actually
jump racing rather than flat national hunt. Yeah, and I looked at it and I thought that poor little thing, it can barely get. The grass was coming up to its chin, so the trainer agreed to buy the share, and so that was the last of little old Play to Win. Yeah.
How do we get onto that? What were we talking about?
The Krays twins.
Yeah. Then you working out in the gym. Then we got onto horses. You putting on weight. Then how the hell did we get there?
You were worried we were losing structure in these.
Yeah.
Or as some people might say, well, I'll leave what some people might say about us.
We'll leave that to the end.
Yeah.
So we're going to bookmarks. Shall I move this thing along?
Boom. Let's go.
But you're all right. You're pumped. And
you okay?
Yes, I'm
good.
I feel a bit better in my head because I got some stuff done yesterday.
Was it work
Guess
stuff?
what? There was but my side hustle stuff.
Okay.
And I've just been letting it go and go and go and go.
Is that because you vocalised to me that you've been letting it go and then you thought?
The reason I mention it here is because it does help me do it.
You never even mentioned your side hustle once. Yes, for a marketeer.
They're just a couple of other businesses.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah.
But I've just been dragging my heels on them. But it's the classic small step stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, I've just got to get that done. I sat down yesterday and I think the thought of these things, a bit like decorate. I don't really like decorating anyway, but the kind of thought of doing it, and you just get past the first 5 minutes, and then you're in, aren't you? You get rolling. So it was that really, and I kind of enjoyed it in the end. It's like, why don't I just do this? I need to do this months ago, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with side hustles when you're not reliant on them giving you
Yeah.
a living, they can just drift.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, they're always going to be, they're going to be a hobby. They're never really going to be a side hustle unless I do something about it. So I think my head feels a bit better because of that.
That's good.
Yeah. Bookmark, socks in bed. Now, I was dying listening back to that. I was absolutely dying.
Yeah.
There's a story about that, isn't there? The Russian spy came back to you.
Well,
Spooky or what?
that
it
is
seems
spooky.
like, I mean, this whole podcast is about making people not feel alone.
Yeah.
And you are not alone.
No. I thought the
In that.
reply was, that's why I sent you it as a screenshot. It wasn't like, oh,
You
yes.
hadn't teed someone up for the answer
Yeah.
you wanted.
Or that's one of your stupid things that you used to say when you used to get
Yeah.
drunk about X, Y, and Z.
Did you want to read it or?
I don't know if I've still got it on me, but have you got it?
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. This is funny. So I spoke to 2 people yesterday,
Yeah.
the people I trained with, and said to them, all right, I'm just going to say this, and you've got to say the first thing comes into your head. And I said, in bed with socks on and earplugs, what do you think of?
Right.
And one guy went, oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't wear socks in bed. So I thought, I'm not going to
Okay. Yeah.
try and get the answer I
yeah,
want.
yeah.
So I said, okay, why not? And he went, you couldn't cross your toes with socks on.
What?
That's what I said. And he went, to cross your toes
What, like on each foot or actually
over each other.
or cross
On,
your
e-
feet?
on one foot, cross your toes over each other.
Is he wearing it?
So
So
I
he's
left.
wearing-
I
not
left him.
Yeah. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, you're just trying to outdo me.
Now he's been really weird.
Yeah. And the other one went, "What do you mean suffocation?" I wish I'd videoed
This wasn't
him.
Russian spy.
Wasn't
This is
Russian
someone
spy.
else.
Someone who doesn't even know Russian spy.
This
And he
is
went-
weird. This is freaky.
So that's 3 out of 4 people.
Do we ever discuss the dangers of socks and earplugs together in bed? A kind of squinty, embarrassed faced emoji.
Yeah.
And then Russian spy says, we didn't, but I think that would probably suffocate you.
Hmm.
Holy fuck. You replied. Wait till you hear the pod. So is she saying that would probably suffocate you because she knows what you're like? Or is she thinking
That would suffocate her as well.
she
Good
got the
point.
same thing?
Don't know.
Oh, you haven't-
Didn't follow it up.
Okay.
Just left it because I thought,
But I'm amazed that you're not alone. I'm just that one. But now there's another couple of
Yeah.
couple of people who've said that. There's so much stuff about wearing socks in bed.
yeah, there's a lot saying it's good for you, though, isn't it? That I read.
There's for and against.
Hmm.
Nothing about socks and earplugs
No,
together.
I couldn't find anything.
No, you
So
think,
how-
well, you can't. Someone must have, right? Just
Yeah.
must have.
Yeah.
If there's
It isn't like I'm strange.
no. So advantages of wearing socks in bed: improves circulation, increases blood flow to your feet. The prevention of Raynaud's syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
No, I know
Yeah.
a couple of people with Raynaud's. It's a medical condition which in your body which typically affects your fingers and toes. It responds to cold weather and they feel numb. And some people kind of go funny.
Yeah.
Fingers
Yeah,
and toes go funny colour
Yeah.
very quickly.
Is that French for fox?
It's spelled differently.
Okay.
I think you're right. It's
I don't know. It's just-
Renard, isn't it? For French for fox?
I don't know. It just suddenly came to me.
No, you're right. Renarde.
We're here to educate.
Where you're right. Whereas Raynaud's is Raynaud. Prevent hot flushes for women going through menopause. Sleep can often be difficult to achieve. Hot flushes are a response to hormonal changes, but they can be prevented by wearing socks in bed. Disadvantages of socks in bed: it reduces circulation. I think it's just literally the opposites of what I've just talked about. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
so you like them or you don't. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Poor hygiene. In some cases, wearing socks in bed can increase the risk of poor hygiene. What about wearing your shoes in bed? If your socks are too tight or aren't clean, I mean, your feet can be dirty.
I don't think
We're
need
back-
the
we're back
internet
into
for
the
this.
showers.
It's like, do whatever you want, but just
Yeah.
keep the earplugs at bay.
All right, you're basically saying crack on. This is boring. Okay, I get the message. It gives a whole list of what kind of socks are best to wear in
Yeah,
bed.
crack on, Mrs. Boring. Yeah, yeah.
Humans, animals, and milk. Right.
Yeah,
You were
I-
getting really funny about this.
I thought this was a bit stupid of me, but
What?
I hope you're going to rescue me. I'm sure I've seen a documentary of animals doing.
Well, I mean,
like
you kind of mentioned
mongoose.
aphids. I mean, we kind of talked about milking. It's not technically milk, though. It's just a kind of an enzyme that they produce that they get off on,
They're
isn't
taking
it?
a liquid out of another animal. I don't think.
No, it's not. Yeah, I think it was just because it was called milking, because there's that
Yeah.
I'm going again. It was the action of kind of,
I'm sure
I'm doing the action,
yeah.
but I think that's what the ants do to the ape.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's not milk.
I just think
is
you're
what
going.
I'm saying.
Are you going to tell me a few stories of other animals that do it to other animals?
There aren't.
Oh, I'm sure I saw a film or something. So there's none.
I mean, they talk about cats and dogs drinking milk because we give them milk. They don't go and actively
Are they
get
lactose
milk.
intolerant though? I've been told now cats are
Yeah,
lactose
when you
intolerant.
shouldn't. I mean, some humans are, some humans aren't.
I just
Because
thought,
there is a bit about their enzymes you have when you're younger. It means you have them in your stomach so you can take your mother's milk.
yeah,
But then when you get into adulthood, that disappears.
okay,
But some people will remain lactose tolerant or intolerant, just
Okay.
depending on their build.
yeah,
Maybe maybe never visit it again. We're the only animals to actively drink the milk of another
Okay.
animal.
okay.
Some of this wasn't a bookmark as such, but something cropped up on the BBC website yesterday, which I just thought, there's loads of these things where it's not necessarily living in ignorance, but just kind of not being aware, really. And I think it was a bit about visually impaired people and having the trouble they're having with all the COVID rules.
Okay.
Because I started to do this when I went up to our local mall. And I just realised how many instructions there were, and I started taking photos of all the different instructions.
Yeah.
And I was going to do it for the pod, and and this cropped up and kind of maybe mentioned it before. Have we talked about going to the service station before and all the crap signage that is about? When you go to service stations,
you can never find the car park.
No, because it's signage that you never ever see on the motorway.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, it's its own signage, it's its own visual language, and every service station pretty much has its own different visual language. So it doesn't adhere to anything that we're used to.
No, and some of it's negatives. So it'll be like an arrow going, no cars or lorries under 3.5 tons, and you're going.
You've got a lot to when you're coming in hot, as I normally do at a service station. You're like, I can't read all these signs. No, but
do you drive fast on the motorway?
Huh?
Do you drive fast?
Yeah, it's on record that I do.
Oh yeah, of course.
I've got proof. Do you want to see? No, but when you're coming in and there's normally a bend, isn't there, just before you?
Yeah.
When you're kind of when you're drifting,
you're having to make quick decisions.
You can't read all these signs and keep it on the road. But there's a lot going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
I was starting to take pictures of all the instructions. Wash your hands. Stand here. Stand 1 meter. Stand 2 meters. Make sure there's enough distance.
I've seen these 1
between.
meters.
Don't sit on this bench, but you can sit here. And it's just go into a shop, and every shop has its own instructions on what you should do.
Yeah.
There is so much. And then I saw this thing about the visually impaired, and you think, well, if we're having trouble, we can see. Imagine people who can't see.
Yeah.
Some have dogs, some don't. Some are completely blind. Some people are partially. So it just must be an absolute nightmare for them. And there's a whole article on that on the BBC website. And it just made me think. And God, you imagine what?
Yeah.
You wouldn't go out. You just wouldn't go anywhere, would you?
And
It's
even
so
if,
confusing.
And if they're visually impaired and they're reliant on listening to newscasts or
you want
conferences,
one simple instruction, right?
Yeah. Press a button and know what I have to do. Not listening to.
And the dogs have are trained in one way.
Yeah.
And some of the dogs don't even know what to do. So
no. Is it
a
you
little
I
bit
was
out
talking
myself.
to about the hand sanitizer? This is what happens. You go to the supermarket. Not long ago, they were spraying everything. That stopped.
Yeah.
So you get your trolley.
Yeah, so trolleys aren't cleaned, are they?
No. So you put your hands on a trolley of someone who's just put the trolley there.
Yeah.
Then you push that in and you sanitize your hands. And I think you then go around the
Which is
store.
only sanitize your hands and nothing else. So then you put your sanitized hands back on your dirty trolley. Yeah.
And
So
also
no
that
point doing
hand
it.
sanitizer, if it protected you from COVID, full stop, we could just smother ourselves in that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or why don't you just have one of those mists as you come through the door? And it's just like a fine sanitized mist. So it does everything.
Yeah.
Like those cleaners in hospitals and offices where it's that spray. So why don't we just walk through those?
Yeah.
A bit like stars in their eyes. Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be Elton John, and you come through the mist.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're every bit of all your clothes. That'd be good, wouldn't it? I
Yeah.
don't mind doing that.
A bit like when you're meant to have a shower before the swimming pool, but you never do you? Or you put your feet in that blue stuff. That used to happen back
Or the
in
little
day.
the little foot bath. Do they have foot baths anymore? Those little things you walk through.
We used to,
I
didn't
used
you?
to splash myself with that. The disinfectant.
So anyway, so you do all that. I don't know how long the antibacterial stuff works. This person was saying to me, the common sense is, going back to our common sense committee.
Yeah, that's next.
You should have
don't
one.
blow it all now.
You need one on the way out.
Yeah.
Because this is, if the only time you go out is Sainsbury's and the rest of the time is your home environment, which you would hope would be clean and sanitized and not have any strangers in, then your only risky time is the supermarket. So when you leave somewhere that's got 200 other people coughing and sneezing.
And you're touching items, putting them back.
Yeah. And so that's when you're going to pick everything up. But there isn't hand sanitizers as you leave the store.
Of course there isn't. No, it's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
I never understood toilets that had handles that you have to touch.
You have to push
You go
them,
to the toilet.
Yeah.
You don't have automatic wheeze, do you? You have to have a wee properly. And then sometimes there are automatic taps. So you put your hand, you have to
Yeah,
touch that. Automatic soap dispensers, brilliant. And then a manual door with a handle on it.
Yes.
What's the point of that?
Yeah.
What is the point
Have
of
you
that?
ever tried doing it with your knee and stuff like that when the guy before you has like come out of the cubicle, not washed his hands,
Yeah,
and you're going, how do I open this door?
Sometimes I just wait till the door open.
Yeah.
Then kind of push it's gross. It's
Well,
totally gross.
that goes back to the first podcast, wasn't it? The people, that woman in the wheelchair in a hospital going into a disabled toilet that had a very heavy door that you had to open with a handle.
Yeah.
Sliding doors, I mean, they had them in Star Trek 30 years ago.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah, that's right. We're talking of common sense. Should we get on with that?
Yeah.
Okay. This is one of the things we talked about in a podcast ago, didn't we? That we have
talked about it in the garage a lot.
Yeah,
I think, modern pods.
And then we just totally went off our radar. We just kind of touched on it, really, didn't we? The common sense. Let's start from the beginning. What is the Common Sense Committee? I mean, it's not a committee.
No.
But that's the whole point. Maybe there should be one, right?
Yeah, taking a step back, one of the things that you said a few pods ago, one of our key things is balance. And that there's no one in the middle anymore. And
apart from me on my little fence.
And you're constantly on the fence. As someone said to me not so long ago, there's no fun sitting in the middle of the seesaw.
I don't know.
Well, there isn't, because you don't go anywhere.
Depends whether you enjoy seesaws, right?
Maybe introverts would.
Yeah.
It's a seesaw that doesn't move.
Oh, happy World Introvert Day, by the way.
Shut up. Stop speaking to me.
Oh,
how do we celebrate
the whole
that?
irony of a World Introvert Day? It just, you don't have to, it doesn't need words, does it?
No,
it's just like,
it's too ironic.
Yeah, and we shouldn't know about it.
If there is a World Introvert Day, it should never be announced, should it?
Absolutely right.
In fact,
the last thing we want is attention on a world scale, And
I think some people are trying to be introverts now that aren't introverts.
Oh, yeah, they're trying to be cool, aren't they?
If you don't hide behind your front door when your neighbour's putting his bin out, you're not an introvert. End of.
Yeah.
So, Common Sense Committee. The bit about the seesaw is, I think, we've often said that everything seems to be extremes, and that's reflected by Twitter, which isn't the world, but it's... And interesting today, someone sent something through to me about that thing that Paul Embry had done and said, have you heard this?
Oh, yeah.
And again, it's sort of everything polarizes people at the moment.
Oh, his 377 deaths under 60
without pre-existing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Common Sense Committee has been something that's been on my mind for years and years. And I think it comes down to this simple fact. For a lot of things, there isn't a right or wrong answer. And I think Twitter's taught me that more than any other form of social media. And it's the typical thing on Twitter, isn't it? When you go, grapes are a lovely fruit, and then people go, just like you to discriminate against bananas. Do you know what I mean? And it is that bit that everybody's got a counter argument.
Yeah.
The Common Sense Committee, for me, was that there are some things in life, some scenarios or some laws or some traditions even, that don't make sense. I guess the hand sanitizer thing would be that.
Yeah.
The Common Sense Committee would look at it and go, actually, what we're going to do is every shop in this country, if we're going to stop COVID, will have hand sanitizer at the front and someone cleaning the trolleys. That's the rules. Yeah. Because that makes sense. It isn't up to people's... I went into a shop the other day, it said keep 1 metre apart. I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, that's what I mean. Some are 1, some are 2.
Yeah. What I would like to think, and this is utopian, is that certain things can be decided by the Common Sense Committee, and if people don't necessarily totally agree, they've agreed to the concept that this group of people can it's a bit like referees. More often than not, referees get decisions right.
Yeah.
When they make the odd mistake, we just used to live for it. For 140 years of professional football. Yeah. We've moaned a bit in the pub. It hasn't changed the world that someone didn't know whether the ball crossed the line.
Well, we used to do the talking, didn't we? That was the thing we always used to go and talk about.
Yeah.
Whether the ball's over the line or not. We've been robbed.
Yes.
It wasn't for a group, and especially now, it wasn't for a group in an office somewhere in Slough or wherever it is.
Who still aren't able to make a decision because the technology isn't good enough to tell them if they were actually right.
No. And even on that, common sense never comes into it now, does it? No. I don't know what sense is used, but sorry, I'm bringing with questions. You carry on. I'm jotting them down.
So, I mean, so very, very quickly, I can just give some examples of that. So this would be common sense. You look at certain games or you look at and Common Sense Committee wouldn't be brought in to look at the minutiae of life. But one of the things is...
yes, it's not a VAR for life, is it? The Common Sense Committee. Yeah, they're not getting lines out and...
No, but there's some things that if you actually looked at the statement... So I'll make a statement. If you're playing football and you have a free kick, and you throw the ball on the ground and take a free kick, and the ball is moving forward,
Yeah.
the referee will blow his whistle and say, moving ball, take the free kick again. You're paid £200,000 a week. You have one job to take a free kick with a static football.
Right. Okay, I wasn't expecting to go here, but yeah.
But the point I'm making is you've had a go, you've got it wrong, so the other side can have a go. You had your go at a free kick,
Oh, I see.
and you got
I
it
see what you
wrong.
mean.
So common sense doesn't go, you've got that wrong, have another go and see if you can get it right. And the interesting thing is,
Okay,
if the
right,
ball
yeah.
moved a second time, would you go, one more time? You know, where does the rule
You
start?
just keep doing that until the ref
Yeah.
gets pissed off.
It's a bit like tennis.
What is the rule? Does the rule just keep doing it until you?
I
Until
don't
it's a
know.
static
I
ball?
tried to
Oh,
look
right,
this up. I don't
right.
know if it's like,
Yeah, it probably isn't.
if the ball went forward
The
like
rules
18
assume you're going to get it
times,
right the first time. Right?
that'd be a brilliant time waste, wouldn't it? But it's like tennis. Your
Yeah.
first serve has missed. You've got one job to get it in this box. It's
Yeah,
missed.
there's no-
Have
yeah.
one more go. What? Why? Why would you say that to someone?
You better be good at this.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it's almost, you could go on for tennis where you've missed your serve, but we'll give you another go.
yeah.
And then your next return goes long.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, well, you can have one more go. You've hit it long once, but that one
Okay.
doesn't count. The next one you're out. So that's getting off the theme.
Do you have any real world?
Yes. So the
scenario?
real world.
Sorry, I mean that is real world. But you know what I mean.
Let's go back to the membership of the committee.
Mhm.
I think I had a discussion with you a while ago.
So that was my
saying-
question: would be who's in it?
Right.
Who is this committee made up of?
Well, we've had some discussions. When we talked about Davos, we were saying, how come the people with the most money in the world think they're the right people
Yeah,
to tell us
yeah,
what
yeah.
to do? So that's number one. We are,
Because they're rich and successful. They've won at life.
yes.
They
Yeah.
they must be balanced.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Or else they wouldn't, if they hadn't made right decisions, they wouldn't be
Yeah.
where they are.
Sure. Yeah.
So then you look at members of parliament and a total bias towards, well, one or two private schools. It isn't even like all private schools, is it? It's between two universities and
yeah.
Eton and Harrow sort of thing, but Eton even more than anything.
But that's it. If anything, our government, democratically elected
Mhm.
and representative of smart people, of
Yeah.
practical people, pragmatic people, caring people,
Yeah.
compassionate people.
Yeah.
You think you get a mix of those, wouldn't you?
You would hope. Yeah.
You think you're on a track to the ultimate common sense committee, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're clearly not.
No.
But also, is the caveat here that no matter how hard we work on trying to get this common sense committee, common sense is my common sense, isn't necessarily your common sense. There's no consensus to common sense, I think, is
No.
what I'm trying to say.
Exactly right.
This is a very idealistic.
The idealism behind it is because nobody is fundamentally right about everything.
Yeah.
At least if we're right about some things some of the time,
Yeah.
it would be an improvement.
But
I mean,
when you get into the democratic side of it, when you get to a point where if 100,000 people think that is a bad idea and this is a good one,
mhm,
and there's even science to back it up,
mhm.
well, that's the whole point of the word common sense, right? Is there's a common consensus to that. Common,
Yes.
i.e., quite a lot of people think this is sensible.
Yes.
Sorry,
No,
that's
no,
kind of
no,
what I was just,
no. You've got me
unfolding.
thinking. You've got me thinking because in a way, what you've done is say, well, what I'm saying is democracy isn't common sense.
Yeah, because there's a minority of people representing a majority of people.
Yes.
Does our common sense committee need to have 100,000 people in it?
But even
Does it
things like
need to-
referendums.
referendums.
Yeah, what I'm saying about referendums, you could say that's the ultimate in democracy.
Yeah, was Brexit common sense?
Yeah, or was
Because there was
Scottish-
enough people.
or was Scottish independence, or how many times do you have to? This is
Yeah, but the question, I guess, referendum, the question is often loaded or doesn't give you the ability to even debate. The whole
Yeah.
thing was debated, wasn't it? But it was like in and out. That thing wasn't that simple.
although the
Do you know
deal,
what I mean?
the final deal that we've left with was given 24 hours for the whole of government to read after.
Yeah, and then went, yeah, cool.
Yeah, we
Went through
didn't
with
have
a
a lot of
landslide,
choice.
didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a point of, you haven't got any choice.
I think the point I'm making about common sense, and I don't think it's about things like Brexit or Scottish independence or some of the problems, say in Ireland back in the 70s. It's around certain things that you look at and you say to yourself, there must be a better way of doing this thing.
Yeah.
So it could be on a micro level. So I'll give you an example. Where I live, picturesque, really pretty village,
Yeah.
beautiful common, beautiful church, and the road next to that beautiful common had a hospital on it. the other side of the road had a
Yeah,
hospital.
Yeah.
And a decision was made by the health trust to sell their land because they were in a lot of financial difficulties. And they had 2 hospitals. One's in Southmead, which is a less desirable area in terms of property prices. And so they could have given up Southmead and improved the facilities at Frenchay because they wanted to make a super hospital. This was the idea, but they were going to sell one of their sites. But because the land on Frenchay was obviously worth a lot more, and the houses are going up close to £1 million there, the bigger ones, the health trust made an economic decision to sell that land and have everything in Southmead, although Southmead is far less accessible for certain
for
reasons.
The emergencies and things like that. Yeah.
But it was made because of financial reasons. And so I don't think a common sense committee would go in, well, actually, you'd get better parking at Frenchay and better this, better that. They go, we're tens of £1 million in debt. We made an economic decision. Okay. So that's something where a common sense committee wouldn't come in because an organisation has got to have some autonomy around what they do for the best interests of that health trust.
Sure.
Okay. Why I'm saying that is the land was then sold for, I think, 490 houses to be built. Fine. No problem with that. People need housing. Yeah. Great. On that land, there is a 2-bedroom cottage, which is at the entrance to this housing estate of 490 houses.
That's where we walk past to go to tennis.
Yeah. That little cottage. That little cottage was bought for £400,000.
Right.
And they put in a planning application to extend it, but the second part of the extension would mirror the first bit of the cottage.
Right.
So it would have slightly more floor space, but it would almost be like another version of itself. And that has been repeatedly turned down by planners because it didn't fit the nature of the village. Right. So a small cottage of no particular historical interest that was the entrance to the hospital,
just looking like
is now derelict.
Oh, right.
Because they needed to do it up. They needed to rebuild it. But next to it, there's 490 houses.
Yeah.
And someone has had to buy
that don't blend in. I mean, they're quite good. They're
good looking, but they're ultra modern houses.
It doesn't match anything else. Yeah.
So the common sense bit for me is, okay, there's a planning decision. I'm sure someone can say, well, we don't want this, blah, blah, blah. But you've allowed 490 houses.
And you'd rather it be all run down and boarded up than actually be turned into a nice little house that someone lives in.
And so what's happened now is just along from this house, because the house now looks fairly derelict, we're getting massive dumping of rubbish.
Yeah.
Industrial, like
people are fly tipping and
washing
stuff.
machines. Oh, yeah, to a massive
degree. Because it looks like a
degree.
dump. Everyone's dumping stuff there.
Yeah. And this was something that happened when I was
how's that helping the aesthetic of the village? How's that going? All right.
Well, this is something that I got from criminology. You leave a car in a certain area and no one does anything. You leave a car with a broken window and it either gets demolished, firebombed or nicked. And so, we've got this little cottage. No one can live in it. It's all overgrown. They've had to put up security cameras, blah, blah, blah. So the common sense committee is, let's just get together. You said yes for 490. How can you actually decide? And they'd go, well, we're planners. That's what we're paid to do. But the Common Sense Committee would look at the whole, the holistic view. And the holistic view is, this is having a detrimental effect.
Or if we didn't allow someone to live in this, we run the risk of the immediate environment being run down.
Yes.
And bringing the
and it's the council having to come out to pick up the rubbish. It's going to
cost us to put, as you said, put cameras in, clean everything up. Put signs up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as a neighbour, if they said to me, what's going to have the most effect on your life? 490 houses being built in view of your house or a cottage being extended.
Yeah.
So that's where the Common Sense Committee would come in. So taking that one step further, the road that used to be next to the hospital that runs outside this cottage, they wanted to have road calming measures in. So they've put, well, you can describe it. It's almost like,
am I right in saying, because I don't go down that road very much,
okay,
and when I did, I feared for my safety and I guess my car, because they've kind of built quite high, sharp curbs, not
out into the road, but angular.
And if at night you kind of misjudge that, you are literally you're taking the side of your car. You will lose wheels.
So they've extended the pavement into the road.
Yeah.
So what happened?
But not in the way they normally do it. It's not kind of nice. It's like almost a triangle, isn't it? A sharp kind of.
And you can actually drive as fast as you ever drove because there's still a clear piece of road. Right. Yeah, so it doesn't stop speeding. No. It just makes it inconvenient if something's coming the other way.
Yeah.
Also, they don't have any give way, so you've got that bit of not knowing whether you should be giving away or not.
So if you're not familiar with the road and been down there a while, you have run the risk of crashing.
Yeah. So when they put these out, people crashed into them.
Oh, they did they?
Yeah, quite a lot. Right. So what they decided to do was put some wooden posts onto this angular piece of pavement that sticks in the road.
So you can see it.
Right. A dark wood. And people crashed into the dark wood.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
So what they've done now is they've replaced the dark wood with more dark wood, and then they've chained a very big road sign with a white arrow basically going,
avoid this
particular
post.
Yeah. And that's on every piece of pavement.
More signage.
More
Again,
signage.
How's that helping the
aesthetics
village aesthetic?
of the village? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what they've done around the corner is then put speed bumps in.
Right. Well, they just put that.
So it's obviously one or other is better. A speed bump's better, maybe.
Yeah.
Or is bits of angular pavement coming out? Maybe. But you've got two now.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing on the signage, and this is where common sense is, they've put in a 20 mile an hour speed limit. But the junction as you leave this road, the last 5 yards are a 30 mile an hour speed limit.
Right.
So they've put up a sign 5 yards from the junction to tell you that the speed limit changes from 20 to 30.
Yeah.
You've got 5 yards of road left.
Yeah, and when you come into a junction, you're generally
you're probably
looking
not
at
going 30.
And also you're looking what's coming.
Yeah.
You're looking ahead. You're not looking
So
5 yards.
there's a massive sign on the floor. Yeah. There's a massive post. Common sense goes, you've got a lovely village. You should be proud of it. Let's build something that isn't going to damage cars, that slows people down, and doesn't have the need for mass signage that doesn't please anybody.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is what I'm meaning by common sense. And it could start at a local level. You could say, this is one thing that's missing. It's almost, so you could feed stuff in, and it wouldn't be the minutiae of, I want my rubbish collected on a Wednesday rather than a Friday, but it would make sense if. That's the opening
And I always
line.
think there's so many smart people around, isn't there? There's, with Airbus and Rolls Royce and all the kind of the big, there's loads of really clever people who would happily go, oh yeah, just do this, and this. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're practically rocket scientists, although someone told me recently rocket scientists don't actually exist. Is that right? They're rocket engineers or something? I don't know. Anyway.
And it isn't that hard. That was the other one, wasn't it?
I guess it isn't that hard if you're really smart. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's loads of clever people about who would happily go, you've not thought about that. They'd happily give up an hour of their time, wouldn't they? To go and brainstorm something. Yeah. In their local, wouldn't they? Yeah. We kind of touching on community here, but that's another part of it, isn't there?
I think the community is the key thing. So what I would have would be a common sense committee wouldn't be, because the normal people that would go on committees, without being rude, are the normal people that go on committees.
Yeah.
You tend to have
the
neighbourhood watch.
The do-gooders.
Yeah.
But sometimes for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. So you're always going to have that element of, well, who do we have on the committee? Yeah. If it's everyone who puts their hands up, those aren't the people we want.
Yeah, my hands are getting sweaty thinking about the organisation of this. Yeah. Because you just know how difficult that is. We're not saying this is really easy, are we?
No. But just on the examples I've given, what happens is, we discussed this the other day when we're doing the effective altruism, is that often the things on your doorstep are disproportionately important to you. Yeah. We are more worried about someone fly tipping outside our front door than we are than the Muslims in China. Yeah. And everyone go, no, I'm not. Yeah. But you are in terms of your input or your effort to change something.
But there is that thing when you see those things, I think most people would want to do something about it. But your next thing is, and a bit like the politics, where do I go with it? Who do I go and get to help me? How do I go and find out who is passionate about this particular subject as I am? Yeah. Who gives a shit as much as me? Yeah. Is that everybody in this street, but they don't know where to put it, where to go? Community takes time, doesn't it? Yeah. You can't just make it, I mean, online has tried to give us the instant communities, but not, to a certain degree, they go a long way, and they can bring people together who wouldn't ordinarily have come together. Yeah. And I'm not saying they don't do any good. I guess, how effective are they, really? When you're looking at the altruism stuff, when you really drill down to an online community, is it just lots of people feeling like they've done something? Yeah. Have they actually gone out and been active and done something? Have they gone and planted seeds, or on the local roundabout, or have they gone round with some mates in a night time and picked up all the rubbish from their street? Yeah, for example. Yeah. Am I going to go to the people around me here that I know and go, I feel really strongly about this. What would you like to do? Yeah. I think they probably care, but would they? I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's quite hard to get that kind of following and to kind of
But there's
So ask people to give up their time and give enough of a shit, and then you're into a little bit like the football, organising the local five-a-side football. You end up, it's a nightmare to organise. No one pays their subs. You're chasing people all the time. You're left with, paying for it out of your pocket and that kind of thing. It's like, why can everyone and everyone really enjoys doing it, but they don't want to be part of organising it. They don't want to be the catalyst, or they don't want to be the driver of any of these things.
This is where I see the Common Sense Committee coming in. So I'll give you an example on that. About a week ago, I saw 2 women in high-vis jackets walking around Frenchay with, those litter pickers and putting them into a bag, which was big for me. I smiled as I went past them, and I thought, you're giving up your time, you're making the village look better, fair play. Mm-hmm. And my first thought was, that's not the sort of thing I do.
Yeah.
That isn't me.
Yeah.
But I inherently agree with what they're doing. I think there's a need for it to be done. Ironically, one of the things is because of COVID, and I hate that phrase, because of COVID, but the bins aren't being emptied as much on the common because of COVID. So the bins overflowed, and now the birds have got in them, and there's more rubbish.
We've had the storm we've just had. There's rubbish everywhere.
Yeah. Again, with my common sense is, I'm not going to find out. I didn't know if those 2 women had just done it by themselves. I think they'd probably been part of some community decision. And I thought, I'm not going to say to them, I really admire what you're doing. Can I help? I wouldn't. I'd just look at the floor and walk by. And I think the majority of people would go, that's a good thing. I'm glad they're doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be many people who go, now I want to help you. Just tell me what I need to do. Yeah. What time are you meeting? However, if on the common there was a bucket with litter collections and some plastic gloves and a small bin, and I was walking across the common as I do every day, I would probably pick one up and put a few things in the bin. I mean, I would pick the odd thing up anyway, but I would make more of a concerted effort. So I think it's the Common Sense Committee could go, we know there's 100 people that would pick up litter, but there's only 2 that are actually doing it, because they're the 2 that are motivated enough. Yeah. If we had these facilities out, be interesting to see if they got used. And I think they would. Yeah. I think if people were out there and saw a litter collector, those things that pick things up from the floor, people would do it.
Yeah, it's kind of how I was feeling when you're talking about the effective altruism bit. I was like going, I don't feel that charitable, but it's not like I don't want to do something. And I've been a trustee for 2 organisations, and I'm keen to do something like that because I feel I've got a lot to add and I can help people out. Yeah. And sometimes disproportionately, because my experience of certainly kind of charities or certain organisations is they don't often move as quick as modern business for whatever reason. And if you can go in and try and speed up some of those things and help be effective in a short amount of time, if it took me 2 hours to do something that take them 10 hours or 10 days or 2 weeks or never, then that's great, right? But you often find that it's whether then people want to listen to your ideas. And I think this is probably a separate thing when you're talking about community and getting involved. People can be quite protective. Say how any committee, whether it's a common sense committee or just a community-based local, just picking up rubbish or whatever. If someone comes along and go, I've got some ideas. People can get very protective about that, can't they? And who is this person coming in? So, we're not perfect as humans, are we? We're not all giving and all receiving. So I think that, and we talked about balance, that's all about balance, isn't it? Yeah. How you approach someone when you're in the committee, how you kind of throw your ideas around or your weight around or whatever it is.
I mean, I think I maybe have just clouded the issue. When I started going on about community then, I think I was looking at the common sense community on a micro level. How can one particular village, and quite often the point you're making is that the community will come together and do that. Yeah. A group of people will go, it would be nice if we have litter collections. I totally get that. So I think this is where I've maybe confused the point. I'm not saying the Common Sense Committee basically is there to tell communities how to act or to take away that. I don't think you have. But what I'm saying is, every single person that lives in Frenchay, I would say, or 95%, wish we didn't have, I think it's about 15 road signs now that weren't there, serving no purpose because they've introduced traffic calming that doesn't calm the traffic. We still get people speeding there, but it makes people crash and have punctures and damage their car. So the common sense to me is there is nothing to be gained. There's no less people being injured because of these. Yeah, and I think actually to actually make a change and to be effective is actually really difficult if you were to follow the official channels. Yeah, I guess running for local council. Yeah, and getting enough people on board to vote for you. Yeah. And then, even before we go into absolutely being an MP and actually getting into politics, all the good intentions are easily snuffed out by the bureaucracy
of getting through any decent ideas. Because also the people who are responsible for putting those signs in, they don't want a bunch of people coming and telling them a better way to do it. It's a classic case of Jobsworth, isn't it? They're going to do everything they can to protect their job, because that's their job.
Yeah.
Why would they want someone to come and tell them that they're wrong or there's a better way of doing it?
But I think if you have the common sense committee that, and again, I think it's probably too difficult to talk about the personnel that will be there. It just has to be broadly representative. But there must be that situation, and to me, and I quite often use this analogy, if a Martian comes down and looks with a fresh pair of eyes and says, "This is a beautiful village. Why do you have 15 road signs in 400 yards?" And they'll go, "Because what we designed in 2020, what city and county planners designed was making cars crash." They go, "Then you've made a mistake." Firstly, I haven't seen this particular road thing in any other road.
No, I haven't.
Ever in my life.
No,
so whoever's designed it, it hasn't been used anywhere else because cars crash into it and get punctures.
Yeah.
Maybe someone either needs to go, well, if we'd had a common sense committee, we would have used speed humps like the rest of the country or other traffic calming measures. I think they've made a mistake. And so the only way they can rectify the mistake is by having loads of signage that still doesn't reduce speed. It just
the only way to rectify is by going, actually, we weren't right.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that's exactly, that was kind of my point. They're not going to have the humility to go, do you know what, we've screwed up here.
Yeah.
Of course they're not.
Yeah.
Because then you go, well, why are you here anyway?
Yeah. Yeah. The Common Sense Committee could then be on a bigger level, because one of the things we had this discussion before is that I think a lot of times MPs are making decisions.
Well, it's the short-termism thing we touched on before. You've got 5 years to make a difference in any given term normally, haven't you, until you vote it out. What you almost need is like the Common Sense Committee to exist beyond those terms.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of do with maybe the Highways Agency and there's the certain government agencies. And
the sort of Quango type.
That just exist no matter who's running it.
Yeah, civil servants.
It's a similar thing to that, because if everyone's doing the self-serving thing, or we've got to do that to make sure we either get another term or we've got to get stuff in here so we look good. So look what we've done in 5 years, rather than some of this stuff's going to take 20 years.
But no
one's got the long-term vision or the patience, because you'll be out of a job before you get to really kind of make a real difference.
100%.
We're gonna have to come back to this common sense thing.
Yeah.
Personal trainers and clients sticking to what they know.
Yeah. Well, 3 things really. One was the last 2 training sessions this week have been different to probably anything I've done for as long as I can remember, really. And I just sort of said to somebody else, I'm having a day off, you just tell me what we're doing. And their approach was different to everything I'd coach you to do. But I'm feeling it in parts of my body and in terms of intensity in a different way. And it isn't that you have to be in pain to have made gain, but it's obviously had an approach. I found it really interesting. I found it very demanding. I found it quite challenging in terms of psychologically being less in control. So some of the sets, for example, were to failure. And you can have a number in your head and go, yeah, I'm at failure now. And then you've got someone shouting at you and you do double. And you go, I thought I was dead 10 ago. And I think it's one of those things. And the other thing that made me think is that I have a client who said things they're going to do in the new year is they train with me, but they want to do an additional, more cardio based. And they're trying to decide whether to do box fit or CrossFit. And my attitude was, whichever you think you can be consistent at and continue would probably be the best. I don't think there's any particular merits in one or the other. But it's sort of made me think that someone's actually going, right, I'm doing running, I'm doing strength training, I've got in touch with my diet, I need something else to just push me a little bit differently. And I'm wondering whether with all these New Year resolutions that people are making, is whether they just become a repetition of what's happened before. That people are going to go, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. And I was thinking,
they're going to go to the place that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, well, also
that they know.
Well, if you're making a New Year resolution, then you haven't stuck to it.
Yes.
So what you're saying is, what I've stopped doing, I'm now going to do.
Yeah.
If you stop doing it...
So why did you stop? Because you might have been enjoying it, or or you didn't feel any gains from it, or you didn't feel it was doing anything.
If it was that good, you wouldn't have stopped.
No, that's true. You'd definitely be addicted to the...
So this was my point, that there are a lot of new resolutions, and this is why I was really pleased with this client who's doing so well at the moment. I'm like really inspired by her progress. Is that I felt she was almost saying, I'm doing everything that I have been doing this year. Now I'm going to add something else, see if that takes me up a level or makes me a bit. And I think that was hearing 1 or 2 people talk about New Year resolutions. It's, I'm going to do. And it's like, that's what you said last year. and then you stop doing it. So how are you going to make sure it works this year?
Yeah.
So that was my first thing. And then the final thing I was thinking is that as a PT, I recognize I train in my own, like I'm a reflection of my own training practices. Although everybody's program is different, I have a framework in my head about what works. And I've just realized from the training I've done this week that I need to mix things up and recognize that there's more than one way to skin a cat, sort of thing. And I guess this is just a call out to, it was interesting. Somebody said to me that they've been listening to the point we made about how little we invest about thinking in what we're going to do. You know, the invest in us thing that you mentioned a couple of podcasts ago. And this person said to me, I actually sat down and thought, I never plan anything. I don't spend that time. I just go, I'm going to the gym. So it's like 10 seconds. If I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week and do what I've always done, and then come March, I'm going to stop doing it, then I need to do something different.
Yeah.
I maybe need to do shorter sessions. I maybe need to do a mixture of weights and cardio. Maybe I need to go to a different personal trainer just for 1 or 2 sessions to get some new ideas. Yeah. Maybe I need to say to my personal trainer, how can we never box? How can we never skip? How can we, challenge those people instead of just going, just teach me. So yeah, I think it was just, I guess this is just a bit of a shout out around just giving it a bit of consideration. It goes back to the invest in us. We got our little packs today, didn't we?
We did. We got our little blood samples.
Yeah, and you said you got to fill them in a pint mug or something.
Well, I thought it was going to be one of those little finger prick things. Yeah. But
it's a bread knife.
It is, but you've got to kind of, it is, but then you've got to get quite a lot of blood out.
I'm on blood thinners. It's going to pour out. I've got no problem on that.
No, you won't, yeah. So we were going to do that on here, but I've looked at it and we're going to have to concentrate. We can't start mucking about.
Too many squeals.
All these laptops are going to be covered in blood. It'd be disgusting.
And I think on a non-visual representation of people bleeding.
Passing out, people passing out, driving cars. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a mailbag item, but we had a response on. we had some engagement on Facebook.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your
Arthur.
So
Arthur, bloody brain cell.
Now.
No,
he's engaged with us. It's very nice of him to do.
No,
and I'm gonna. Well, his name's out there, so I can say his name. It's public domain, right?
No, I'm not knocking him at all.
His name is
very kind of him to take the time.
He's got a lovely name.
Yeah.
Arthur Bogwhistle, which sounds like just an amazing character in a book, doesn't it? So congratulations on your name, Arthur. He gave our podcast a go.
Yeah, thank you.
And this is great because we don't know Arthur.
No.
I'm going to read out what he said.
Yeah.
And it's on Facebook for everyone to see.
Yeah.
But he said, I've tried listening, but it's all just titting about.
Thank you.
There seems to be very little content. So again, thanks for your feedback.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I responded with...
I thought your response was lovely.
Yeah.
I read it out to a couple of people.
Yeah. Well, I just said thanks, but, it's not for everybody.
No, I love the fact
we do.
that
I think that's what we do tit about.
Yes. I think it was an accurate summation. I think we have content because we go on. It might not be particularly...
I mean, all tit. I'm trying to think which one was he listening to, if it's all titting about, because that sounds amazing. I'd listen to that back.
That's going to be our new strapline, as recommended by Arthur Bogwhistle.
Yeah.
No, I think it was, he took the time, didn't he? He took the time to listen. He took the time to give some feedback, and we're not going to please all the people all the time. So no, I think exactly as you say, it's fair play. Thank you. The people who like us can't be asked.
Absolutely. That's a good point. Well made.
Yeah. See, you're meant to be our friends and our fans, and you're there, silent.
Taking. That's it for this episode. Well done for getting this far, and thanks for listening. Please make sure you subscribe to us and give us a 5-star rating and or review on Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFinecast, and you can send us an email to imfinecast@gmail.com. In the next episode, we are going to touch on the vagus nerve.
We will, definitely.
We're going to touch a nerve. And hopefully we will have our results back.
They say 2-day turnaround.
Yeah.
You're going to do yours on Monday?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.